Welcome to the Hourly Podcast. In today's episode, Jorge Barragan, co-founder of the Pickler, discusses his journey in starting an indoor pickleball facility franchise. He shares how his love for the sport and the need for dedicated indoor pickleball facilities led him to create the Pickler. Barragan talks about the growth of the franchise, staffing requirements for each location, and the importance of the club coordinator role. He also discusses the launch of Stack Athletics, a pickleball clothing company that presents the rebellious spirit of the sport. Overall, Barragan emphasizes the community and fitness aspects of pickleball and the value of providing a dedicated space for players. Enjoy.
This episode is brought to you by JoJo, an AI virtual recruiter powered by Sprockets. Designed for the hourly workforce, JoJo works 24/7 to source, screen, and schedule interviews with the best applicants for your business. JoJo helps reduce employee turnover and time spent hiring so you and your team can focus on other important tasks. To learn more, head to sprockets.ai/JoJo.
Thanks for being on the podcast. I've been excited to chat with you for a little bit, and obviously I'm wearing some Stack gear. So tell us a little bit about Pickler. Tell us a little about your other businesses. For somebody that's never heard your name before, who are you? What do you do?
Yeah. Well, AJ, first of all, I know between our schedules, it's taken a long time to get to this point, but glad to be here. So my name is Jorge Barragan. I started the Pickler with a buddy of mine 3 years ago, just from the love and passion of the game of pickleball. You know, I started playing pickleball in 2016, and there was always that stigma, even in 2016, that pickleball is only for old people. You know, anytime I tell someone I played pickleball, they would say, "Isn't that for people that are retired?" And quite honestly, it was at the time. And so my perspective changed when I saw a couple of teenagers playing the sport, and they were playing a little bit different than I was. They were hitting the ball harder. They looked athletic. And so I just felt that no one was representing the game in the right way. And so I started a pickleball paddle that was very heavy on design, and it looked cool, and it was at a cheaper price point, and just ultimately fell in love with the sport. And here in Utah, at the time, we'd play at rec centers and churches. And you would see 50 of us at lunch waiting to get on 3 courts. We'd only get like one game in an hour. And I was like, this is a weird phenomenon. I've never seen anyone that is willing to wait this long to get a game of pickleball in. And so just fell in love with the sport. And in 2020, got laid off from a job. I had been at that point through a couple of exits and, worked for a company, went through an IPO. And just, told myself I never wanted to work for anyone again, and I wanted to turn my passions into my work. And the idea of indoor pickleball, the days of rec centers where we wouldn't be a priority to the volleyball players and the basketball players. I'm like, why is there no one that provides dedicated indoor pickleball year round, where I can play tournaments, where I can play leagues, where I can come play with my friends? And that's where the idea of the Pickler was born. Love of the game and the necessity for a growing sport. And quite honestly, I was very lucky that the game exploded, and it's turned into what it is now with 40 million players.
It's incredible. So how many locations do you have right now, and what does one of those locations kind of look like right now?
Yeah. So we have 11 locations open. They vary from different states. So we got Texas, Colorado, Chicago. But by the end of the year, we'll be open in 22 states. We got 33 locations under construction. And we've started franchising about a year. It's been about 18 months. To this date, we've sold 350 locations. And, by the end of the month, beginning of next month, we'll get ready to announce Canada and Australia. So most of these locations are anywhere from 8 to 10 courts. We know what we're good at. So we are not an entertainment. We provide pickleball leagues, clinics, tournaments, competitive events. Anything that has to do with pickleball, pro shops. We do have grab and go, and so you can expect it is a membership based model. Play as much as you want. It's a set pricing. And it's been amazing to attract people to the sport, but it's also been amazing for people that are avid pickleball players that want a place to get all their pickleball in.
Yeah, I love that. And for one of the locations, this is the hourly podcast. We love talking about kind of hours required, type of people that are required to run the various businesses that run the economy, run the franchise models. Like how many staff members are at each location, and what does that person kind of look like?
Yeah, great question. So we have a what we call a club coordinator. So this club coordinator is responsible for staffing the location. They are responsible for the programming. They're responsible for working with ambassadors for their club. They do a lot, right? They're almost like an event coordinator slash salesperson slash. I mean, you name it. They work with ambassadors. They do the social media for the local locations, and
Right.
so this person is full time, right? They are your salaried person that is there managing the location 8 to 5. But some days for tournaments they have to come in Saturdays. Sometimes the days are a little bit longer depending on what the club needs. And then, quite honestly, you get a lot of passionate people that love pickleball that want to be around the Pickler because it's their community. They love the sport, and so normally 9 to 5 we have about 2 people, usually a high school student or an individual that might be retired that loves the game that will work with the club coordinator, and then in the evenings from 5 to about midnight, you have about 2 full or part-time employees that will come in, and then that is supplemented with trainers that come in that will do they will do clinics, they will do private trainings, and so for us it's pretty low overhead compared to a lot of other different food concepts that require a lot of people and a lot of turnover. People want to stick around for some weird reason. This
Yeah.
is their third space.
Yeah, and what's interesting is, it's a really nice lean model for you guys, right? So like, of course, in the hourly workforce where there's 150% turnover, it costs $5,000 to hire, train, replace somebody. If you have a business that requires a lot of people, it gets complicated and expensive very quickly. So, I'm curious, as you were building your model, I'm sure you kind of had a whiteboard of everything it could be, right? From like, food and concession to courts to you're way more creative than me, but there could be anything, but every single piece of that had a different staffing requirement. So do you think, like,
Yeah.
as you matured and build out your concept, you intentionally kept it light on staffing, and if so, what were some thinkings kind of around that?
Yeah, great question, AJ, and 100%. Shout out to Chicken and Pickle. A lot of people ask us if Chicken and Pickle is a competitor of the Pickler, but they're an entertainment, right? They require a lot of staffing. 80% of the revenue comes from food, and the build out is expensive, right? And so I was a big fan of Chicken and Pickle. They were, kind of the first people that brought me to what could be accomplished with pickleball. And once I explored that model, I realized how intensive and capital and reliant it was on the food and beverage side. And I knew that people needed a place to play. I knew that with low overhead, you can run a club because it's most people will come on an average on an hour and a half to 2 hour block. So you get a lot of people in, you check them in, you work with them, and quite honestly, for an hour and a half to 2 hours, they're just doing their thing. They're playing pickleball. Now, obviously, do you get customers coming in that want to buy stuff? That might have complaints, of course. But this allowed us to have low overhead because most of the time it's in segments that you're getting a lot of people in. So you're getting a lot of people in and out, and it just requires a small overhead.
Yeah, I love that. And I think, with less staffing, the club coordinator, of course, becomes pivotal, right? And,
Yep.
there's a lot of other franchise concepts I'm thinking about that's like center director and executive director, where for franchisees and operators, that's the hardest but most important hire to make. So when you think about having operators are signing on, it's so exciting. You have over 300 commitments. That's awesome. Congrats on that. Is that mostly, you think, going to be the franchisee themselves? Or do you think franchisees going to have 5, 6, or even more locations
Yeah.
with a club coordinator, each of them?
That's another great question, AJ. And so, I think what's very attractive to the franchisee is the idea of, with the Pickler, you can play as long as you have a membership, you can play at any Pickler, right? And so the idea of creating a network effect for these franchisees, at the very beginning, we only sold 3 to 5 locations at a time. So if you came in, you were someone that wanted to buy into the Pickler franchisee, you at the minimum had to buy 3 locations. And the reason we did that is because we wanted someone to own that territory. We wanted people to feel like, they were invested in that location. And the club coordinator, could also manage 2 to 3 clubs at one time. So your overhead can
Right.
still be pretty low at that point, because they can move around from club to club. And so the idea, the franchisees, a lot of them, they want to help at these locations to understand the business. I was the first club coordinator for the Pickler. The first location that we opened, for about, I want to say, 8 months, I was the only employee we had running the club. And so I understand the ins and outs, the software, and how to book people, the complaints that will come, what people like and want to see when it comes to programming. And so I think the club coordinator has to live and breathe and want to be at the club and build community. And it's the people that your members rely on, and the franchisee can be that. But most of these people are looking for a great business opportunity, and so therefore they will hire someone that can be at the club full time.
Yeah, and as you're thinking about just from the franchisor's perspective, are you giving direction to the franchisees like, hey, this is the type of person we've been successful? And if so,
Yeah.
curious to know, you've mentioned some like, hey, they got to be able to do this, how to do this. Is there anything, from a personality perspective? Is there anything from like a job history perspective that you'd be willing to share, just for those that are curious?
Yeah, so that's a great question. I think for us, ultimately, they have to be someone that, that's very sales oriented, right? At the end of the day, pickleball is fun. We need these club coordinators to be engaged and to build community, and to be great at coordinating events. But at the end of the day, we are a membership based model, right? We know what it takes to hit profitability and how fast we can get there, and so our job as a franchisor is to make sure that we're doing a good enough job in providing top of funnel. We are amazing at marketing to people. We offer a 30-day trial for $10. Come and enjoy the club. Come and find out what makes a Pickler so special. And then it's the club coordinator's job is to retain them, to make sure that they don't want to leave, to make sure that they can justify the pricing they're going to pay, because you're not only just playing to play pickleball. It's a lifestyle. It's community. As I mentioned to you earlier, it's the third space that people fall in love with, right? It's your home, it's your work, and it's the Pickler. You come to the Pickler because you want to hang out with your friends. But ultimately, you're coming to the Pickler to get a good workout. Like, I think people have the misconception that pickleball is so much easier and it's easy on the body. No, if you play pickleball the right way, in 2 hours, you're burning 1,000 calories. You're getting an amazing workout, and there's just such a feeling of being fulfilled at the end of a session, and it's pretty amazing.
Yeah, that's awesome. And I do have to mention this because I know we're running out of time. I'm a sucker for gear. You sent me this hoodie. It says Stack. If you sent me Pickler stuff, I would and I will continue to wear that. FYI.
Yeah.
But tell me about this company, just because you did send it to me and I want to pay homage to it, and kind of how it's connected to all the things that you're building at Pickler.
Yeah, amazing. So the idea of obviously there was a need when it came to indoor pickleball facilities, but there was also a need of a homegrown pickleball clothing company that is it is born for the love and passion of pickleball. We are noise ordinance rebels, right? When everyone's trying to make the sport less loud, we love the sound. We're when it comes to us in tennis, it seems like we're this a lot, but hey, tennis, we're grateful that you have given us courts. We've transitioned a lot of tennis courts into pickleball. And so the idea of Stack was we would go to tournaments, we'd look at our local clubs, and you would see Nike, you would see Adidas, you would see Lulu, Viore, Alo. There was nobody that was representing pickleball. And if they tried it, it was the cheesy pickleball lines, right? That was like, it, if you're in the kitchen, or stay out of the kitchen if it's too hot, or things that were very very cheesy to pickleball. You'd see pickles playing pickleball, and so we wanted to create something that represented almost like skateboarding in the 90s, almost that rebellious spirit. And we knew we had distribution. We have 11 locations that carry the product, with 33 more that will be built by the end of the year, and 50 to 75 more locations by next year. And so when it came to distribution, we can have as many stores as Lulu or Viore that are carrying our product. And so for us, it was natural that we've created this channel. We knew there was a need in the market, but we also wanted to do a damn good job of making sure that it was good quality, right? And as me and you spoke, AJ, prior to this call starting, it's one of your favorite hoodies, right?
Yeah.
And that's what we want to accomplish. It's going to be one of your favorite shorts. It's going to be one of your favorite tank tops. It's going to be one of your favorite shirts, your hoodie. We don't just want to come into the market and not make a difference and bring something that is not valuable to the market. And we think we've done a pretty dang good job of doing that, and we'll continue to get better at it.
Yeah, and I can say this from a non-biased point of view. This is and has become my favorite hoodie. Like just the stretchiness of it, the feel of it. Like I was terrified of it shrinking because I know, like when I have other brands, I fall in love with kind of like the look and the fit, and then it goes through the dryer 3-4 times and it loses it. But I've had this now for I think 2-3 months and has had no impact, and I wear it religiously. So thanks for sending, and amazing story around it. And for those that don't know, because I don't think I do, why is it called Stack? Is that like a pickleball term?
It's a pickleball term. It's a pickleball term, which you're starting to see a lot more in the game. Stacking essentially is, if you are dominant on the right or left side and you want to make sure that your partner is staying on the right side, during pickleball you can stack and switch sides and just stay on the same side, right? So again, this is another just homage to pickleball. And when we asked, people when we were creating the brand and we did surveys around Stack, people also saw it as like, what does it mean to you when you see the word Stack? It was fitness related. It was, it just looked good even on your shirt, right? And so the symmetry of it just looked good. And the first thought process that people had was it was just fitness related. And we thought we can also pay homage to pickleball by making sure that there's a term there.
Love it. So last question, and I ask every single guest this, and I'll send you on your way. What was your first hourly job, and were you fired from that job, or did you leave gracefully?
That's one of the best questions ever. I was 14 years old. In Utah, we have one amusement park. It's called Lagoon. So I applied at 14 years old, got paid $4.25 at the time. So I'm 35. Yeah, that was just 21 years ago. And you interview and they tell you where you're segmented, whether it be rides or whether it be games. I got lucky enough to be chosen to flip burgers for corporate events. And I did it all summer, absolutely hated it. And stuck around until the season was over. So I did not get fired. I just stuck it out.
But you
but
didn't
it
go
taught
back
me a
to
lot.
that summer. You didn't go back as a 15-year-old.
No. Took a year off and came back, and my dad said, "Hey, it's time for you to get back to work. You're 16." Um, once he sent me off, I sat in a Panda Express and looked across, and I'm like, "What is this Pure One Imports store?" And I just walked in. They were hiring. It smelled good. There was throw pillows. There was candles, and I said, "Hey, why not?" There's a lot of women that come here. I was a teenager, put on my best shirt and tie, and applied and got the job. So the 16-year-old was selling candles and throw or pillows, and that was my second job. So I started the retail route.
Love it. Love it. And if somebody wants to learn more about you, about Pickler, what's the best way to do that?
Yeah, LinkedIn is probably the easiest. I'm very active on LinkedIn. I try to post twice a week, and so make sure that if you want to follow my story, I'm very active on LinkedIn. Send me a message. I do my best to try to get back to everyone. My inbox is ridiculous right now, but also follow us on Instagram at the Pickler or thepicklr.com and stackathletics.com.
I have to do both. I'll do that right now. But again, thanks so much for being on the podcast, and we'll chat again soon.
Awesome. Thanks, AJ.